I'm Kaleem. This is my 2004 Mercury Grand Marquis that I bought in Florida, drove it around there, and shipped and imported it here to the Netherlands. Probably one of the few and only Mercury Grand Marquis in the Netherlands and in the Amsterdam area. It's quite unique because it is an American icon, or at least this Panther platform car is an American icon and a classic, I think, and it's well known in TV shows and movies, mostly the police versions like what Jim has, but this is the consumer luxury version, and yeah, I really like it.
So before we go for a drive, we're sitting in your Grand Marquis,
In the living room
which is probably
couch.
on the living room couch, which has everything that you could possibly need: armrests, leather, not heated seats.
No, I was
Is it
surprised.
because it was a Florida car?
Could be the
be.
case. I don't know if this generation came with heated seats or not, but that was one of the things I thought it would have, but it hasn't been too bad.
So tell us a little bit about, you bought this car in the States
Yep.
to import it here as a little bit of a project,
Yeah.
very similar to what I did with my car.
Yeah.
And then you find that suddenly there was a lot of things that just appeared out of the blue. So give us a little rundown. I'll take it you were in Florida and you picked the car?
So yeah, it's a whole thing. So maybe the quick backstory is we were going to Florida for an extended period of time, about a month, and I decided, hey, I wanted to do this project of importing a car here.
Yep.
I'd kind of decided on the Panther platform, Crown
Yep.
Vic, Lincoln Town Car, Mercury Grand Marquis. I was hoping for a police Crown Vic. So I was shopping around online before we were, about 2 or 3 weeks before we were getting there, and didn't find a suitable Crown Vic, and then found this. And my father-in-law actually went and looked at it. So it was in Florida nearby, and he went and looked at it. So I only saw it on pictures and then on FaceTime. And he said it looked good. He took it for a test drive and it ran well. And so he bought it there. And then I went to Florida about 3 weeks later. My wife went before me actually, and she drove it around. And because that was the whole thing. It was rental car prices for the month. We were going to be about $1,500.
Yeah.
And I said, even if I don't decide to import it and just buy it and maybe resell it, it would still cost me less than renting a car.
Yeah.
But then I got there, drove it around for a couple of weeks, loved it. And it was running well, driving well. I said, why not? Let's just import it. And I did it. And yeah, I think I probably should have done a little bit more research on not so much the process, but how strict the Netherlands is with safety inspections and and all of the requirements, the detailed requirements. Like the steering has to have a certain tightness, and the light pattern stuff. These things I didn't know. I knew it had to have certain things like the side turn indicators, rear fog light, that type of stuff. But the strictness of the requirements were more than I expected.
Is there a point you got to during the project where you're going like, just push it off the dock?
Yeah.
Just push it into the sea?
Yeah, so one thing was it took a lot longer than I thought it would. So the shipping time wasn't very long, about a month. But the inspection registration process took a long time because they had to send some documents to Germany to get some sort of paperwork that would allow it to be registered in the Netherlands. That took like 6 weeks. So it was a lot longer than I thought. And I was like, okay, I've been talking about this car on my channel, but I don't have it yet. So I wish I had known that. And then I had to make all of those adjustments to have it pass the inspection. And I was like, I mean, at this point, I'm like, okay, it's already here. I can't send it back. But that's what I wanted it to maybe fall off a ship. But, it worked out in the end. But it was a bit stressful.
So you became sort of like famous overnight with this car when the drive picked up on it.
Yeah.
So the $8,000, is that an accurate figure?
Yeah,
of what it cost?
so I didn't include the cost of the car itself, but more just the import process and the cost.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a lot of little details in there that I didn't cover, but a lot of that, about 2,000 of that, was the fixes that the car needed to have to pass the inspections, which, in Florida, this was a perfect condition car. But then when it came over here, it needed to have these things for the inspection. And so I was kind of representing like, okay, if you want to bring a car that's actually in decent shape in the States, it's still going to cost you some money to adjust it to fix here. But then, it was that was the true, let's say, on the road import cost to get it here.
So it kind of, well, then the weird car Twitter community, which I'm part of,
Yeah.
it kind of went viral overnight. Did you get many people messaging you going, what are you doing?
Nah.
You're an idiot? No, any of that?
You know, honestly, the comments on YouTube were actually quite positive, I would say, generally speaking, because I think probably the audience watching it appreciated that and appreciated the transparency. But on the Drive article, those were, you know, that, I don't know the audience, but that is more of a global audience. And I think there was a lot of people in the States that are like, that is so dumb. Why would you do that? Fuel is so expensive there. Why would anybody want to drive this car? And the first thing, those things are a piece of crap. Like, you should really go, I mean, we should add this to this video, the comments from that article. And I went and responded to a few of them and was kind of explaining the rationale of why I did it. And I ended up doing a video afterwards explaining it a bit more. But yeah, I have no regrets still. It was cool. And, you know, it's a unique thing. Nobody's really done that and put it on YouTube, I think, in the way that I have.
Yeah, because it's a really honest, because I mean, I think what a lot of people do is they go, right, I'm going to go and buy X, which is only sold in country Y.
Yep.
And then they go to someone who does all that for them.
Yep.
And then if they are a YouTuber or whatever, because you see it a lot in things like Hoovie's Garage.
Yep.
Like, you know, he suddenly appears with like a BMW or a Ferrari,
Yep.
which was only sold in Japan
Yep.
or Germany. But there's never anything of the maybe he might go over, oh, it's so complicated to do, or it
But
took
not
so
the
much
details
longer.
of it.
Yeah, but he never sat down and actually made a video on it. Whereas
Yeah.
that's where yours was very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it was good things like like the Drive picked up and other sites picked up on it as
Yeah.
well. Because I do something very similar with
Yeah.
cars, taking them over to the States and obviously bringing the police car here.
Yep.
And there is so much stuff where you just go, oh, oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. All right, I'll get back to you.
Yeah. And I like to say I make videos that I would watch, and I was looking for a video like this because probably if I had seen my video, I probably wouldn't have done this. Ironically, I would have probably said, "Oh, that's a lot more expensive than I think it's going to be," and I probably wouldn't have. But yeah, I mean, hopefully people find it also informative. Like, hey, if you want to do this, and there's a lot of variables, of course, and even a lot of people import cars to the Netherlands when they move here, and the tax situation is also different, and the import duties situation is different. But it at least gives them some idea of like what to expect. So that's what I think. Hopefully, people find helpful.
So you kind of feel like you're finished with the project now? That's it kind of done with?
Yeah, I think so. I've done a couple of videos of it. I've driven it around. But like I said, this was always a project. And I think what I wanted to do was give this car a second life.
Yeah.
So, you know, this was a Florida-only car, from what I can tell from the Carfax history. So it probably drove out of the state, but definitely didn't spend any significant time outside of Florida. So the fact that it's on another continent is pretty crazy. So that's really cool, I think. And I think over here, somebody will really appreciate it and take care of it.
Yeah.
Because, like I've said, these things are future classics, and this thing is dead reliable if the right person takes care of it. And so I really want this to go to a good home. But yeah, I think the project part is done. What I really want to do now is kind of what you do and actually ship a small European car over to the States and see how people react to that.
That's the next thing we're going to see.
That's the hope.
Okay, well, good luck with that. And hopefully you get the right buyer for this. But I think that's one of the things that's good about this market is it's a very small market, but the people who do buy these cars are very intense about the purchase. And they will generally, as I say, it will become something that will become their project.
Yep,
so
exactly.
Hopefully they get that.
Yeah. And if anything, maybe I'll see you driving around from time to time and say, you know, I know the history of that thing. So, because they stand out here, you know, you can't miss it when you see these cars driving around.
That's true. There is absolutely nothing else like it on the road.
Even today, you know, so you know, many people have taken pictures of us with these cars next to each other. So, pretty cool.
Although we did park outside the most American place in town, a McDonald's.
Hey, you know, if the shoe fits. Yeah, so the import process was, or the inspection process was really strict to get it certified here. So couple things they had to do. They had to change the headlights out. So these were brand new headlights that they made or that they put on to pass the headlight inspections here. They changed this bulb out from amber to white, which, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that was required or not. They added the side turn indicator here. So that was a requirement, of course. If we come around to the back, so one thing they didn't have to change was the turn signals. So the Netherlands allows red turn signals, which is standard in the US market. Most other European countries, and I think in the UK, you have to have amber turn signals. So that was actually nice. It's not on right now, but the rear fog light was actually integrated into the rear reverse light. So instead of it being kind of tacked on, they decided to put the rear fog light here, but that was also something that had to be done. And then there were other mechanical bits that you can't see, such as the steering box, and a couple other mechanical things that I can't remember right now that had to be adjusted to pass the inspection here.
By the way, your number plates are much smaller than normal. Are they kind of legal, or they're okay? There's an allowance for imported vehicles?
So the license plates are called the Americans Kenteken. Is my Dutch good? So the Netherlands has American style license plates that are allowed, so they accommodate for smaller cars, smaller license plate features from the American cars and also Japanese imported cars also.
And what was it that really kind of made you want to go with one of these? What was the big thing? I really want to go with the Panther platform.
What's the stereotypical American car? I mean, if you're going to bring something, into a land where it's going to completely stick out, what's the most stereotypical thing? Not even a Ford Mustang, I would say. I would say this is like the grandma spec, stands out. It's big, it's excessive, in terms of size, right? The 3-box design. So I don't know, that was one of the things, right? And actually, when I was driving it around in Florida, my friends and family were like, why the heck are you driving that thing around? And when I told them I was going to ship it to the Netherlands, they were like, why the heck are you going to ship that thing to the Netherlands? So that was one of the things. It was kind of unique in that sense. But then, this platform is dead reliable, right? As you know, the simple mechanics of it, it's easy to fix, easy to work on. I took it to a Jiffy Lube in the States just to have it checked out. And have some fluids changed before I shipped it over. And those guys were like, oh man, this thing is so easy to work on. They wanted to buy it off of me right there. And I told them I was shipping it over here, and they kind of blew their mind a little bit. So yeah, and then of course it would stand out on the streets here. Something that's, I think it was actually, I can't remember who left the comment, but somebody was like, oh, something out of context, is really unique.
Yeah, it's like going to the moon and finding a London bus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was kind of, that's kind of why I wanted to do it.